Have you been in business for about a year and it just isn't taking off? At least on the outside, you want to see a business that you're working a 4-hour work week. You are taking weekend trips on a whim, but you're finding yourself working from 5 a.m. all the way till 9 p.m. at night. And this is while taking care of kids. And then the second they're in bed, you're just grasping for 10 more minutes to make a tangible result happen that day. Move the needle. You are in the right place if that is you. If entrepreneurship was supposed to be your vehicle to giving their kids their mom back, their dad back, but it's actually slowly stealing you away even more. Now, if you realize that something has to change, then you clicked on the right video, because internally, not on the exterior, but internally, you have all of these ideas for offers, how to market them. In fact, the ideas keep you up at night. They flood your brain the second you wake up, and they don't stop until you've actually fallen asleep that night. P.S. Once again, way too late. There is a way for your creativity and your innovation skills to give you the business that you want, the freedom you want. And maybe you're thinking right now, why with all of these ideas, all of this creativity, do I not even have a reasonably successful business by now? Here's the thing. You are so creative that you actually can come up with like 43 different answers on why you're not quite there yet, why you don't have that 6-figure business, that 7-figure business. You tell yourself, good things take time. I'm building up my skill sets first. Or I don't have time to work like the typical startup entrepreneur, running on no sleep and hustling till I make it. Or you tell yourself, I process slowly. Those are all internal things. Maybe you look at the exterior, the things happening outside of you, and you think to yourself, the economy's not doing well. We just had an election. People don't see how valuable my product is. Perhaps you've enrolled in a coaching program, hoping that by building your business skills first, you will finally have the confidence to start selling with gusto, with heart, and taking action when you see opportunities. Maybe you've learned how to sell and you have no leads. Maybe you learned how to create funnels, but you have no meat of experience to actually put in them. James Clear says, most of the time, people don't need more information. They need more courage. Courage comes from the heart. Courage comes when you are making decisions from your gut. And that is what we'll be talking about today. How to lead with your heart in business. Have courage so strong and so big that you have you are filled with anticipation for the future. You have this heart, this faith, this hope, and you know that the actions you're doing today will give you results 60 to 90 days from now. So let's dive in. Part 1. I want to teach you about the law of the harvest. Okay, imagine this. It is late spring 2025, let's say April, May of this year. And you open up your phone for the very first time that morning after a delightful session of writing. It's 8:03 a.m. You experience this rush of adrenaline as you see a DM from Layla Hormozi. She wants to book a sales call with you because she's curious about your offer. You feel grounded, excited, and nervous all at the same time as you send her the booking link, because you know that that voice message you sent her yesterday came from your heart and that you truly can help her in this area. Most importantly, you feel this hope for the future. John Maxwell says, when you have hope for the future, you have power in the present. And this feeling of hopeful anticipation and power, it spurs your creativity, and you make a couple edits to your YouTube video script, you hit record, and that same day you also publish 5 reels and have them all scheduled out for the week. It is fantastic. You know you have moved the needle that day. And as you go for a sunset walk, late spring, with your toddler and your new baby, you reflect on the rhythms of the day that you've been implementing. You have essentially biohacked your energy and your brain's programming and your creativity. You realize in that moment this deep contentment, and it comes from taking more action in the last 8 weeks than you have in your entire first year of business. And you know that this will reap the harvest. So the law of the harvest is this: you always reap what you sow. And you always reap later than you sow. Okay, let's imagine a farmer for a second here. They plant a crop in the spring, and they do so with this full faith that they will reap a harvest in the fall. But do you think that farmer only plants one seed? What about a handful? What about 100 seeds per field? No, I actually looked it up this morning. For corn, a farmer plants between 32,000 and 36,000 seeds per acre. For the average Canadian farm, which is where I live, sure, it's similar numbers elsewhere in the world, it is 809.8 acres. That comes out to, get this, 64,720,000 seeds planted in the spring. Now, do you think that each one of those seeds actually produces an abundant harvest with fruit that can be traded for money? No. Only 50% of that 64.7 million seeds actually yield fruit. But the farmer plants them all anyways. And that is because he has faith that at least half will produce a harvest and bring abundance to his family. So here's what this means for you. If you've been in business for about a year and you are not seeing fruit yet, it could be one of two things. Sometimes it's both. A lot of the time it's both. Number one, either your seeds are still growing, because remember, you reap later than what you sow. Or most likely, this is the number one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, is you have not planted enough seeds. Now, if you plant enough seeds in the right environment, which we'll actually get to that in part number 3, then you will see a harvest. Okay, so we are going to go into the quality of the seeds. Like, what types of seeds do you need to plant? This is now part 2. So a couple questions for you first. Do you consider yourself ambitious? Do you consider yourself a high achiever maybe? What about naturally creative? Would you describe yourself in that way? I hate to tell you this, but I have to because I love you too much. That is not enough. Being creative is not enough. Because unbridled, your creativity could actually bring you away from your mission that is at hand. You might go down a rabbit trail for weeks on end researching how to grow your Instagram going viral, and you think going viral is going to make the difference. Or, like many entrepreneurs I know, you spend years learning how to sell, but you end up not having any leads because you didn't learn the marketing skills. You need to be planting not only lots of seeds like you learned in part 1, but the right seeds. Lots of the right seeds. Now, remember that vision that I told you when you get that DM from Layla Hormozi wanting a sales call? That win is you reaping the harvest of planting the right seeds and an abundance of seeds. And in part 3, you'll find out the right environment, but that's still coming. So excited about that section. I always had just, so excited for you. Okay, so for every action you take, it takes about 60 to 90 days before you see a harvest. Now, when you think about it, that's only about 2 to 3 months of your life. So if you take the right actions, right seeds, and you do lots of those actions, and plant lots of seeds in the next 2 to 3 months, you will see a result. You will have something that you can tangibly hold or tangibly sell and pivot if necessary. The only way to know if something works is to actually put it out in the marketplace. You know, the founder of LinkedIn, I'm just adding this in because I know that it's going to be valuable for you. I don't have his name in front of me right now. He said that if the first version of whatever you launch you're not embarrassed by, you probably waited too long. So the reality is most people are going to love the skill set you have, even if you don't think it's perfect quite yet. There is so much value in taking action fast. Wealth loves speed. Action takers are money makers. And you need to be planting a quantity of seeds and quality of seeds in the right places so that you can see results in a relatively fast timeline. So let's go through the 2 different categories of seeds that you can plant. And this is going to be kind of like a guessing game, so you can tell me if this is actually even a type of seed that you could plant. Okay, so you could either plant harvest producing seeds, that's the first type, or you can plant fertilizer. Which one do you think is going to give you the biggest crop? So, once again, I hate to tell you this, but I love you too much to withhold this from you. Most entrepreneurs spend about 80% of their time planting fertilizer. And they wonder, why don't I have a crop yet? Like, what's happening here? I'm planting the seeds. I'm taking massive action. I'm working so crazy hard and I'm not seeing the results I want. We have to take a look at what are fertilizer type of actions. So what does fertilizer do? It makes soil rich. Now, you want rich soil, but if you have rich soil and no seeds that are going into that soil, you're not going to have a harvest. So activities that are kind of like fertilizer, it is reading, amazing thing to be doing, listening to trainings, brainstorming or brain dumping your next idea, organizing your leads list. All of these activities, they feel very active, like you are making progress, and this is essential for deep roots that last. So I'm not saying you should not do these activities, but what I am saying is that 80% of your time spending doing fertilizer activities is not going to give you a harvest. Harvest giving seeds in your business, on the other hand, are things like you are scrolling on Instagram, which by the way is a major time suck, but let's say you are doing that at a given point in the day, and you see an entrepreneur, let's say Leila Hormozi, for instance, talking about a struggle that she has, and instantly in your mind, you know that your offer can solve this problem. So you take her down from that pedestal you have her in your mind, and you send her a voice message one day on a walk. That's one type of harvest producing action. Okay, another one. Maybe one morning you write down 10 names of top of mind people. I call these TOMPs for short. I write down my TOMPs every day. And then I follow up with these people without even organizing my leads list. What's the point in organizing a leads list if you don't even have one in the first place? Okay. Without an ounce of hesitation, after writing down this list, you quickly follow up with each of them, knowing that you can serve with heart. Okay, a third type of action. Maybe you're driving downtown one day after brunch. You see a business, like a brick and mortar business that could be an ideal customer. You quickly park, walk in. 14 minutes later, you have a new client. You know, this actually happened to my husband and his brother. They were starting a cleaning company, and they were driving downtown and they saw, wow, all of the restaurants have these glass walls around their patios. I wonder if they need someone to clean it. This was in the spring. And they walked into one of the businesses and said, we are what was it called? Backbone Cleaning Company. And we have an offer. We can clean these windows for you. And before you know it, they had the entire block booked just by taking the right action. They were planting the seeds. Now, let's say each one of the people they talked to said no. But on their 70th try, the person said yes. How fast do you think they would have gone through those first 69 people? Pretty fast. And it is, in fact, in a way, a numbers game. Yes, you want to do quality work, but you also need to do quantity, because if you knew that on follow-up number 70, you would get a yes, that someone wanted your offer, you would move through those first 69 like this. You would do it in one day. And this is possible for you, having the sales skills. I'm getting a little ahead of myself because I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for what's coming. Okay, another type of action that is a harvest producing action is, let's say you have a sales call one day because you've been taking lots of action, you have a lead, and the next morning you write an entire 2,000 word YouTube video script and you film it that afternoon and it goes viral. Let's say it doesn't go viral. Let's actually go worst case scenario. You take the right action and you put something out there that is maybe a little bit more vulnerable than you normally do. And 3 people who watch it, who were fence sitters for the last year since you launched your business, all of a sudden want to work with you because you told them a story that sold them on their beliefs and their objections. Okay, one more example, and then I'll tell you what all these actions have in common. So let's say you enroll in a $1 million coaching program and you pay it off early because you're implementing so fast what you're learning. So the thing that all of these actions have in common is they're unexpected, they're leading with your heart, and it's gutsy, big, courageous, dramatic moves. It's not calculated. It's not planned out to the letter. It's not perfect. But it's connected to the mission of serving people and serving them well. You know, the other thing that all of these actions have in common is that they are based on real stories from real people in my inner circle. And it's people who have taken lots of action, lots of scary action, fast and courageous action leading from their hearts, not their heads. Your head is always going to tell you, danger, danger, danger. Your heart, on the other hand, when you learn how to follow it, when you learn how to tune in to what you have been put on this earth to do, your unique purpose, you will have an environment for growth, which is our third thing. Each of the people in the stories that I just told, they put themselves in an environment for growth. Okay, so part 3. What is this environment for growth? So what if I told you that a redwood tree could grow to its absolute peak beauty, peak height and size in just 5 to 10 years? You would look at me a little bit crazy. Because if you know anything about redwood trees, you know that they can get up to 380 feet tall. That's 116 meters for my Canadian listeners. This takes 600 to 800 years. So if I were to tell you a redwood tree can grow to its peak beauty, peak height, and peak size, you'd have to ask, where on earth are you planting this tree, Ina? And we'd have to look at its environment. Is there a factor in its environment stunting its growth? And is that environment, is it actually growing to its full capacity? The answer is yes, because the environment that I'm talking about is a pot. That tree is being cultivated into a bonsai redwood. It is trimmed within an inch of its life. Boundaries are put around its roots. And within about 5 to 10 years, you have the most beautiful miniature redwood. Now tell me, would you rather have your business be a bonsai redwood or a 380-foot tall redwood in the California forest? Which one would you rather have your business be? So your environment matters. For a tree, its roots are what determines its height and size. So for a bonsai tree, its environment has limits on it, and its roots cannot extend deep. Now, for a massive redwood tree, it's actually called a Hyperion. Its environment is one of growth and deep roots. Now, in business, we often think we can't have one without the other. We can either have really deep roots that took a really long time to build, or we can have fast success that doesn't last. Now, what if I told you that there's actually a way where you already have your deep roots? You're just not seeing the fruit yet. Your roots are there. Your roots are deep. If you're listening to this, you're probably around the age of like 35 or so, and you have 35-year-old roots. Those are some pretty deep roots. And all we need to do is uncover them. Once again, I'm going to go off script and just tell you a quick story that's coming to mind. So I read a book a couple years ago. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He was telling the story of, who was it? Henry Ford. No, I don't think it was Henry Ford. Let's see. Someone Carnegie. Not Dale Carnegie. Anyways, I'll figure out the exact name. But anyways, this person, he actually, every single person on his team, all of the executives, were millionaires. And when someone asked him, how did you manage to hire only millionaires? His answer was, they were not millionaires when they started working for me. This man, he was impeccable at finding the gold and unearthing their deep roots and bringing them to $1 million. So you have deep roots, you have stories to tell, you have expertise, you have gifting, and you wish that people knew about you. You wish that they knew about you, but they can't find you if they don't know you exist. So you need to be planting the seeds of action, quantity, quality, and in the right environment. So that brings me to the great news that I have for you. There really is a way for you to produce fruit and branches and something tangible in just 4 weeks. You could launch a YouTube channel. You could launch a podcast. You could write a book. You could launch a new offer. You could create a course. Those are only a handful of things that I've seen people do in less than 4 weeks. In fact, in November, I had a 17x launch, like 17 times bigger than the previous launches. And this was done in just 22 days. So have you ever heard of the story of the 4-minute mile? So I actually need to grab my book and read this to you. This is so good. So on page, let's see, I wrote it down, page 121. So for generations, reading from Expert Secrets, for generations, people believed it was impossible to run the mile in under 4 minutes. They believed the human body wasn't capable of going fast and that it would collapse under the pressure. Some doctors and scientists said it wasn't just hard or dangerous, but it was physically impossible. No one could run a mile in under 4 minutes. So then on a cold, rainy day, May 6th, 1954, 6 men entered a race held at Iffley Road Track in Oxford, England. One of these men was Roger Bannister. As he crossed the finish line that day, he did something that everybody thought was impossible. Over the loudspeakers, the announcement came. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the result of Event 9, the 1-minute mile. Subject to ratification will be a new world record. The time was 3, and the announcement was drowned out by the crowd when they realized it was done under 4 minutes. Bannister had finished the race in 3 minutes, 59 seconds, and 4 milliseconds. He had done what so many people believed was impossible. He broke the 4-minute mile. After the record was broken, it only took 46 days before it was broken again by John Landy. And once people saw it was possible, they had belief in others that they could do it too. Since that time, more than 1,400 runners have broken the 4-minute mile. So maybe you think 4 weeks, 28 days is not enough for my idea. My idea is really big. But what if you ended 4 weeks from now, end of February, with a tangible part of your idea? Maybe your idea is, let's see, what would be something really, really big? Maybe your idea is to have a 3-part series of business books like Expert Secrets, .com Secrets, and Traffic Secrets, for instance. Let's say that's a really big goal. You could hypothetically write half of one of those books in 4 weeks. Because let's do some math here. I write about 1,000 words per hour. One book is, let's see here. It is 340 pages. And I know that there's about 200, no more than that, probably 500 words per page. So 350 times 500, 350 times 500 equals 1,750 words divided by 1,000 words per hour is 175 hours divided by 4 weeks, 43 per week. If you worked really hard, you could write the entire book in 4 weeks. Like, that is actually possible. Now, if you were to write even like half the book, it would only take you like 3 hours each morning. That is very possible. That's very doable, especially with a couple of the frameworks that you could find in what I'm about to announce. So right now, today is the very first day that Innovation Incubator is open. Innovation Incubator is the program that I launched in just 22 days last November, and it produced a 17x revenue return for me that month. Now, it is an environment for you to plant lots of seeds without burning out, because you'll be using the high performance techniques that I have used as a professional cellist. You can see my cello right there for the last 20 years. You will be planting, number 2, the right seeds with the filters that will put on your decision making. In fact, there's actually a specific formula we use to reprogram your brain to be aware of what is actually a time suck versus something that actually brings you forward. And finally, it'll be an environment for growth. Not only you'll be using every single skill you already have, we will be organizing and streamlining your creativity so that you are focused, getting into flow state quickly, and being able to transition from parenting to work and back again seamlessly. Now, at the end of these 4 weeks, you will have a tangible product. So this could be, maybe you want to create a webinar. We would create the webinar, the sales page, the emails, marketing, all of the different things. And you would do it with support. Maybe you want to write an ebook. One client actually did this in just 4 weeks. And she actually told me in the last 4 weeks, I actually got more working with you for business strategy than I got out of a year-long program. She was in month 7 of this year-long program. And she is now getting consistent leads from this ebook. So that's the first 4 weeks. You learn the frameworks, you have weekly coaching calls, and you get to create this idea with daily support, Voxer Coaching Daily. Now, once you have actually created it, we will be selling it for the next 4 weeks. And you could hypothetically basically role play sales conversations with me, the other people in the program, daily. This is where we raise our close rates. Did you know that the number one thing to increase your closing rate is curated sales coaching? Sales coaching for your specific product. And a lot of studies have shown that this could increase your sales closing rates by up to 27.9%. Isn't that crazy? Like, imagine if you're closing at a 50% rate right now. That could go up to almost 80% closed. Mind-blowing. Okay, so I will leave the link in the description box. And what I want you to walk away with right now is that you are more capable than you think. You have skills. You This is the very reason you even went into business, because you saw that you had skills, that you had gifting, and I want you to make the most of it. I want you to have a repeatable process so that when you walk in the door at, let's say, your Coach's Next live training, that you feel like an expert with tangible business assets behind you, experience, and something to sell. That is so possible for you. And I will also leave the link to book a complimentary one-on-one call with me, and we can talk about your $1 million idea. Until next time.